Hey, good man.
Hey, welcome to the Edge Television broadcast, Greg.
Always glad to be here.
Alrighty.
Even though it's the second time.
Well, we appreciate you being on the program tonight on the Edge Television broadcast, man. It was so interesting having you on the show the last time, and man, everything that we talked about was something that was capable of just an hour. Tonight, Greg, I mean, it was great, and it was so interesting talking to you. We want to talk about CERN. You got so many things we want to talk about, and let's just start off, Greg, by introducing yourself about how you got into this kind of research in general, and we'll just go right from there.
Well, to kind of recap what I said the last time I was on the show, I did a lot of stuff. I used to work for the Texas prison system, and I had free time off the job to do research and analyst work, and I built computers on the side too. So I had a lot of free time to just do research and search for stuff and figure out what's going on. Ended up leaving that job with it's just because it just overstresses you. If you heard anybody ever talk about the prison system, it's a job you don't want. It's like it's right up there next to air traffic controllers. It's like real close. It's stress. It's the worst job you could have. So thank God I got out of that. Some years later, I'm doing my own research, and I worked on this thing, a project with a guy. I'd call in. I did research about UV, the solar activity stuff. I seen this stuff about John Moore. He did the thing about Planet X, what the government's not telling you. That was pretty significant. And then I just started looking at why the sun, and everybody's not, it's almost like then a pre-Mandela thing, the people not catching on to the fact that the sun used to be yellow. It used to be. It was, now it's blazing white. You look at it, you can't hardly stare at it. It's bright almost an hour after sunset. Mm-hmm. I mean, when the hell has that ever happened 30 years ago? It was never like that. When the sun went down, I had a curfew. My butt should be at home, when the sun went down. Now I could, labor and, do stuff out there in the field for at least an hour or more with some sunlight. And people didn't get it, that the sun had turned from being a yellow, they call it a steady state star. Now it's a white variable output star. So I did this such research stuff. I seen a lot of things in the news. There was some stuff popping up about Australia and how much trouble they were getting from UV indexes all throughout the year. And I just started doing research thinking, well, what's this really about? You get on the phone and kind of check it. You can check your daily UV index. You can check and see what the chart says. And for this United States where we're at, we're only supposed to go up to 12 because that's as far as the chart goes. And the common sets of things, you could find a high UV index somewhere around 9 or 10 during the summer. You can look that up for yourself. You can find it year after year, index charts that go way back. And now we're getting numbers. It's been 14 for several days in a row, a couple of weeks past. It's beyond what our scale's supposed to be. If you get into South America, the scale goes up to 15. It's even higher than that. So I was concerned about the fact that this UV is bad. I got these nice, color change glasses. I've had them for years. Mm-hmm. It's this, to protect my eyes and stuff. Mm-hmm. I just had some precognitive idea that I should do that. And people are having more cataracts. Ooh. You've probably seen this. Cataracts are increased. You can read it. You can find it in the news. You can look it up. It's a certain problem. Animals are being problematic, bothered for this. Birds, bees, butterflies. Whoa. So 10 years ago, I'm doing this research, and I thought, well, there's a show that was done on RBN, Republic Broadcasting Network. A guy by the name of Frank Whalen did a show called Frankly Speaking Radio. And I'd call in and talked about some of this stuff, and we talked like for the half the show of just as call in. And he said, why don't I just have you on as a guest? Because, you've got so much stuff to talk about. Why don't we just, cover it? I did 4-hour shows with this guy. I was one of the only guests he ever had that did 4-hour shows with him and covered the whole gambit. And the crazy thing, it wasn't too long after that. Within a day or two, I did at least 12 shows with him. And every single one of them, within a couple of days, they were purged off the archives. Nobody else he had as a guest would have that problem. It's like, what the hell is this all about? And we're just talking about the sun and the solar stuff and electromagnetic stuff. And it's like, why in the hell is this such a taboo subject? So I did some more research. And you come to find out, being in the forensic, science field and having some knowledge of this stuff, I found a forensic science newspaper piece that was actual news, news report within the interim, part of the community thing within law enforcement. They were publishing this thing about forensic science stuff and dealing with UV. And if you know anything about blood samples and catching blood samples and, you go to crime scenes, you have to look at stuff and check stuff out, use the luminol. You got to use UV with finding the blood samples and stuff after the luminol has actually enhanced it. the trouble they were having from this forensic science paper said that UVC was causing damage, physical damage, to the DNA samples. And I thought, okay, well, it wasn't within a few years of that. You see these SteriPens on the market. You can take a glass of water, you go to South America, you got these SteriPens you take with it, you put the pen in the water and stir it up for several minutes, it sterilizes your water. UVC is what's doing that. You can get these for your internal home systems, for your air conditioning and heating, you can put these large, we're talking like 2-foot square units that have all these UV lamps in it and put it inside your home system, and it sterilizes your air. It's UVC that does it.
Well, Greg, let me ask you something. You're saying people's DNA is being changed?
I would think so. It'd be damaged.
Is that where you're getting your transsexual?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to say.
Well, okay. Well, the people that would like to change normal people's DNA, wouldn't their DNA be changed as well?
This electromagnetic stuff from the sun, all this, like in the past audio we did, Cliff High calls it space goat farts. It's really a comical thing because other sides of science, they unknown energies from space. They really don't know what the hell this stuff is. They don't know what to call it. A lot of it's gamma ray burst stuff. We've seen gamma ray burst articles from several years ago. They had some of the largest ones ever recorded. They've had lots of X-ray emissions from the sun. The sunspot count is down because of the solar minimum. But yet, we're still having enough excess radiation from the sun that is causing damage. There's this thing, if people want to look it up, and there was a KML a file that you could use in Google Earth, and I was the cause of why they wiped it out. I was reporting on this. I sent it out through email newsletter system, and they stopped publishing this report about the South Atlantic Anomaly. If anybody want to look this up, just look at those words, go back a few years, and you can even look like the Internet Archive. It's hard to find some of the details of that. This South Atlantic Anomaly is so bad, airline pilots can't travel through this stuff. It's massive. It's about the size, I'd say, if you were to take Alaska and triple it across the South America, it's about the size of Alaska 3 times across. And it's a massive area that does move a little bit. It's a hole in the atmosphere. It's a hole in our magnetic system. It's a hole in the Van Allen belt. If you don't think there is, go look at the science reports. You can find out. They talked several years ago. They talk it like the shields are down, just like an old Star Trek term. There was an actual episode that Jesse Ventura did it on his True TV series called Conspiracy Theory about the same thing.
All right, Greg, let me ask you about the Van Allen belt. That for those that do not believe that we went to the moon, they claim no one could survive going through the Van Allen belt. But if there's a hole in the Van Allen belt, couldn't they just shimmy on through there, get on over to the moon?
It's much weaker at the North and South Pole. So the idea that we could not go to the moon at all, I wouldn't take the ride in that, tin can that they spent, a lot of money on shooting off the front of this, big Saturn V rocket. I wouldn't take that ride for any kind of money. Because you're liable to come back.
I always questioned it because it always looked like it was wrapped in tin foil. And I'm thinking, dude, talk about tinfoil hat people. What about tinfoil lunar module, man? That thing, what's that going to do, man? How that thing blast off and hit the mothership? Okay, so it's on the moon, right? It's sitting there, and all of a sudden it goes pew, and it's flying up. And man, boom! It just hits the mothership and heads back to Earth. Man, that was some tech they had back then with tubes. Now come on, man.
Well, one of the other astronauts of old, if you go look at this video, this called Alternative 3, they kind of did a mock interview with one of the previous astronauts, and it reflects some of the actual feelings that the astronauts have expressed themselves about riding. It's like 2 men on a bicycle going to the moon.
Were they gay?
The technology. That's about the route. That's what it felt like.
What's 2 men doing on a bicycle, man?
It's a 2-man bike. I don't know. God, you get it.
Come on, man.
Yeah, it's like if you wrap your body in tinfoil and enough layers of it, and then get in a damn canoe and canoe yourself to the moon, what would be your odds of making it there?
Pretty slim.
But when you look at the secret space program, if you go back to the beginning of Area 51, you look up names of something called Project Oxcart. It was the beginning of the building of the SR-71. In the front of it was YF-12A. You'll find old records about those. And they were building this very shiny, super piece of equipment more than 50 years ago. The thing looked supernaturally, Star Trek-y looking thing way back then, 50 years ago. and that was the best they could do then. And all the stuff you've seen in between has looked like junk. You know, there's better stuff in science fiction movies than the stuff we're using now. But on the other side of the fence, in the special space program, the secret space program, we have those TR-3Bs. We have, there's even blueprint records people can pull up about what the Nazis did in building their own UFOs. You know, the Vril project, the Brahmanas of India, they got some technology from, they say, from, you know, channeling of something, of other worldly sources to try and put this information together. The Bell Project is a good one to look up about that. Go ahead.
Well, now some people claim that Donald Trump is a Nazi. So does that mean that he was assisting in building the Bell Project? I don't think so. Hey, let's get to a couple questions for you. And by the way, you're talking about people getting cataracts, man. I've been hearing a lot of commercials. They say, you know, get one, buy one, get the second one 30% off or 50% off. I'm thinking, dude, I don't want some kind of coupon when somebody shoots a laser beam in my eye, starts cutting. I don't want a coupon job on my eyeball. I said, what's wrong with you, boy? Don't you ain't cutting on me. I don't want a discount, man. I want a real guy. I don't want a trainee or associate. They always got, you know what I mean? They always got those associates. They're going to do it. Well, they ought to laser beam their own damn eye because they're not getting into my eye.
Yes.
Okay. A cowboy don't allow that.
That links to something else, too, from this Idaho Observer newspaper from quite some time ago. They leaked the research report of some of the chemtrail stuff that they've been studying. And they found out there's chemicals in there that shouldn't exist if all they're doing is just filtering out the excess UV from the sun. One of these primary chemicals, lo and behold, was something called acetylcholine chloride. And if you do research and find out about the acetylcholine chloride, it's the primary ingredient that's used in laser eye surgery. It causes the iris of your eye to get really small. And they're spraying this stuff in the chemtrails, and guess what? It's helping you not be so blind from all this stuff that we're getting from the sun. It's not just about, you know, protecting us from just, you know, it's global dimming. You can look up the videos, movies about it. The Great Global Warming Swindle is another one.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, Amazon just rolled out. They got a drone now. So the drone stops by your house, does some eye surgery, and flies back to Amazon, man. But, you know, look, man, I don't want Amazon Prime. And, you know, the drone's kind of flying in there. And then flying off, man. You don't know where those things are going. All right, here's a question from Doug White. He asks, is the sun expanding?
They say in billions of years it might turn into a red giant. Some of the other side of the science field have looked at this ass backwards. It's being presumed that we go from having a tiny star at the start to exactly over millions of years, billions of years, that the sun keeps getting bigger and bigger. There's evidence of looking at some of the recent, more technological advancements of studying stars and the ages of them. The sun started out as a large red giant. It's been shrinking ever since. And as it gets shrinker, it actually shrinks. It gets more high in intensity and output, and it could lead into having a problem in the near, distant future, near as, cosmological scale, of having a white dwarf.
Did you say shrinker? Hey, man. All right, let's go this. Hey, this is a great question. Steve Ells. Okay. He got a great question. Now, this might be a little bit off topic, but maybe we can go there. We're already talking about other worlds. Are there any world leaders that you would consider aliens or reptiles?
That's a topic for David Icke, but I'd pick Obama as a top candidate if there ever was. Call these dudes. I like on common terms just to call these guys lizards, just because they're sorry, bloodthirsty, cold-blooded individuals. You can put Soros in there. You can put Dick Cheney, Rumsfeld, even George Bush in some cases.
Oh, yeah.
They're all pretty much lizards as far as I get down.
They're all in on that. All right, here's another great question coming in from our live chat for you, Greg Coleson. Does the blue light from the monitors have anything to do with cataracts?
It could very well cause that. There's a lot of stuff in recent reports in the last couple of years of people getting more blindness from looking at their phones too close at higher intensities. So yes, there's no doubt that it's actually causing more people are going to the doctor to get cured from some of these problems. And the science reports, you can go look them up. Anybody wanted to ask that question, wanted to go look it up? Yes, look into that about, too close of your kids, youngsters, man, stuck with the camera right up to here. And, like your dad from years ago, you remember, you had the old big tube TV. Your mom would get on your butt if you sat too close to television.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
They go, hey, Danny, step back from the TV, man. I said, but Mama, I'm scared. I want to watch a scary movie because, in a scary movie, you want to get a little close to that thing, until the monster comes out and you hightail it out in the bathroom, take a dump.
Sure.
All right, let's get to another one. Is the solar system in a different part of the universe? Is it moving?
There's been speculation because of this Mandela effect that we've actually in a different arm of the Milky Way galaxy versus where, it's hard to say. There's if we're like 50 billion years away from where we were, how could you actually prove it? And why are the stars we're seeing in the sky still the same patterns we had? It's a speculation. It's a speculation is hard to prove is flat Earth in reality. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Mm-hmm. Since 2012, there's been something called a Schumann Resonance. Is that gotten higher?
Yes, it has. If you can watch my screen and see here, hang on a second. Let's see if I can pull this up here. I've been testing this thing today just for practice.
Oh, right.
To share the screen. Let me see what we can get here.
Okay.
And see start and pull up and see if we got this. This is one on other subject of tires. There's one here that talked about the Schumann resonance being at massive Easter increase in Schumann resonance. If you look at the count of where it goes, today it shot up to 90 hertz. If anybody looks up these things about, well, sometimes it highlights, sometimes it don't. But that's pretty bad. The original was only like 7.34, only less 20 years ago. If you think that it's, that doesn't mean anything, this is a scientific fact. Even New Age people love this for different reasons, dealing with the idea of the fact that we have a shorter day. There's been proof, calculated manually and mechanically, computer-wise. There's a whole lot of things that have been done to see if this has any bearing on the fact that we have a feeling of a 16-hour day. And if you go to my quantum shift report, it gives some more detail on that. But the idea that this 90, what the hell happens when this occurs to be more energetic? The Schumann resonance, if you go to Wikipedia and read the actual scientific papers on this, as it shows here, used to be around 7.83 hertz fundamental. It's been jumping up quite a bit. Even here, like last few years, 14.3, 20.8, 27.3, and 33.8. That was the higher numbers that they've seen. But, what are we supposed to get out of this if it gets up to 90 or 120? It synchronizes, the information synchronizes with the number of electrical outbursts from storms around the world. That's where this number coalesces with this Schumann resonance and how come it even exists on the scientific side of things. So go ahead.
So does that resonance affect humans?
I don't see why not. If we're synchronized to the moon to a 28-day pattern, and women have this trouble of a 28 day cycle and time of the month thing, there's a moon cycle. If there's a cycle inside the Earth that generates all this energy, I don't see why we're not synchronized to that in some way, and how it doesn't, how could we live here and it not affect us in some way?
Well,
I could give a more complicated answer, but that'd make people
there's resonance. But let me ask something: is any of this resonance have to do with, say, Harvey?
There are good reports, and even Cliff High talked about in some of his Webbot report stuff, that most likely that all this stuff of the cold temperatures and warm temperatures variations aren't really the cause of massive hurricanes and storms, tornadoes. They've had tornadoes in parts of the world that aren't even supposed to have tornadoes, as far north, as even the Great Lakes. So if it's even look at like dirt devils we have here throughout New Mexico. They've had different types of dirt devil type stuff, the snow devils down in Antarctica, but something changing the magnetic field and causing intense, fields that are concentrated in short, small areas. There's some YouTube videos that's quite curious of China that shows vehicles has been moved around on the highway in traffic. It looked like a car had run over something like a line that's traveled across the road. The question is, what caused the car to actually be moved and the other vehicles around it? It looks like a supernatural video, and people could think maybe it's just, special effects, but I can't prove that to be true. Well, nobody else could too.
I want to get back to this 28-day thing. What's going on there, man? Are you saying that resonance can vary that time from 28 days higher or lower? Or
the moon can have an
effect on it. Are you saying that's how we got it?
Say again? Repeat that.
Is that how women got it because of resonance? I missed the connection.
Well, It's a cycle. It's one of those things that has to do with the cycle.
Uh-huh.
So electromagnetic increases from the sun, causing, the galactic superwave stuff that people just are confused about. All these things, as thinking like they're not interrelated, they do have an effect, and we're all interconnected in this whole scheme of things of electromagnetics, stuff from the sun, gamma ray bursts from other stars across the, the solar system, across the galaxy. All these things are interrelated, and it's how could we not possibly be affected? You go get your teeth checked, you get an X-ray, did it not hurt you? There's all this radiation that we can have problems with that, Hey,
that reminds me. Why is it when you go to the dentist and they take an X-ray, man? Everybody goes running out of the room, man. Why don't they stay there and endure some? Why they always making us go through all those X-rays, man? Are we getting our brains nuked?
There is a reason why on the electromagnetic spectrum, when you get into UV and the vacuum UV past UVC, all these are called ionizing radiations for a reason. And all this ionizing radiation does have an effect on DNA. It does have an effect on, it's what causes cancer in the first place. We talked about this morning for a chat. At some point we could do a show on cancer, because I've been surviving cancer for up to 5 years now. And I got help from an old man by Colonel Francis Joe Hart, and he was one of the guests, a special guest, World War II veteran, just died last couple of years ago. He was 93. I have to credit that man to have saving my life, because he talked about how the oxalic acid saves you from cancer. So in his premise, there's just to give a short premise there, just a short example.
Okay.
Oxalic acid is the one primary ingredient your body has to have to remove cancerous latent cells from your body.
Okay.
There are 5 major blockers, 4 of them that are just chemical stuff you take and eat every day. The major one he attributed to destroying the oxalic acid is citric acid. Okay. If you want to do some study, write down something called the citric acid cycle. Mm-hmm. And it'll show you how citric acid, you should never, according to Colonel Joe, and he's right, you should never take in citric acid orally. Your body creates that itself to get rid of these acids, excesses that your body doesn't need.
Is that why I always get a heartburn if I have some orange juice or something?
No, it can be, but not necessarily. The oxalic acid is more in the vegetables of the weed family around the world. Carrots is high in oxalic acid, parsley is herbs. But all the weed family, not necessarily marijuana, which people always tend to go to think about, weed. So the weed family of all these plants that exist all over the world are high in oxalic acid. Rhubarb is one of them. Oh. Little kids eat rhubarb leaves, kill them, fall over dead. Tapioca has high concentrations of the oxalic acid if you don't cook it properly.
I love tapioca pudding. I got to ban that now?
No, sir. If you cook it properly, people over in Africa, there's a major doctor talked to me about this. If you don't cook it properly, you can get too much oxalic acid. It hurts your kidneys. It'll hurt you bad. So, if you cook it properly, you do all these things properly and accordingly. The citric acid is one of the major things he said that you don't want to take orally. People confuse that with vitamin C, which is ascorbic acid, not the same thing.
Well, tapioca pudding anyway, man. Always kind of looked like fish eyes to me, man. Have you ever thought?
Or fish eggs, or
fish eggs,
caviar. I know, I get it.
Slimy little thing, but very tasty though. All right, so we got that going on. Here's a question from Tony in Louisiana. Greg, what do you think of the Project HARP in Alaska?
If you've done research on it, the scalar weapons and all this stuff, it has a lot to do with. There's patents about mind control. There's patents about the ones you can find that actually matter. This deep earth tomography, where they can look inside the earth, very deep measurements. They can find things under the earth, in the earth. They can find oil, gold, minerals, all this stuff. They can find anything they want. There's if you invade the atmosphere with enough metal particles, like the chemtrail stuff, you can do an echolocation system that can actually do a 3D model of any place on the surface of the Earth with this HARP system. And there's over 27 of them across across the world, not just the United States, but across the world. But to finish up on this citric acid thing, the other blocker, we should do a show about this because it matters. Because people are dying of cancer. It's on the increase. It's population reduction. We can talk about some of that, too, at some point. Too much dairy, the calcium blocks the oxalic acid. Too much alcohol also blocks it. Even the alcohol sugars blocks it. Too much B6 that's in white meat chicken and white meat turkey. And the other one that we're getting to about the question you asked before that you got lost on was about electromagnetic frequencies. And Colonel Joe did point out in his 3 patents very distinctly that electromagnetic frequencies are cures. I mean, they do curse you as far as they do activate cancer. They do cause cancer problems. I've had a long day already and haven't had enough sleep. So go ahead.
No, let me ask something. So have you been cured of cancer?
I'm working on it. The oxalic acid is one of my major ingredients that I've been taking and learning how to do with that. The second one was B17 with the apricot seeds. And if you do research on B17 and apricot seeds, you find out your cancer cells love sugar. They don't like fat. And there's something about this B17, amygdalin, and laetrile that it's a sugar-based cyanide. It's cyanide molecule that's bound to sugar. And when your cancer cells in your body absorbs the B17, it eats the sugar, releasing the cyanide, kills the cancer.
All right. All right. So now I can't have tapioca pudding or ice cream. Man, Greg.
Come on, man. You got to eat all things in moderation anyway.
Okay.
If you don't have cancer, just go for it.
Okay.
We should do a show about this.
What about raw honey? Would that help us out?
Yes. Honey is one of those ingredients that actually fights cancer because the sugar type that's in honey, the cancer cells don't ingest that well.
Ooh.
So if you eat a lot of honey, if you take that as the major sugar in your diet, cancer cells will have a bad problem with your life. So
yeah, I'm going to smack a cancer cell right in the face. All right, here's another question. I'm not sure Steve Ills. What is this question? But I'm going to ask it anyway. Why did they change the calendar from the Gregorian 12-month system?
Okay, let's see.
I think we're trying to find out if you're an expert and knowledgeable in every area known to man.
I think that's probably...
And now we're going to the calendar.
There is a scheme in that I think that may fit in this picture too. There's a whole page that I'll have to do. Well, we just make a note and do a show about this thing called Planet X because it does factor in this as well. When you deal with the old Gregorian calendars, when they moved to that one, they were trying to hide something. Because the lunar calendar, the Hebrew calendar, is more accurate. The Julian calendar's always been more accurate. And the trouble of moving that calendar around is to hide something else and fit more of these other, weird pagan. They want to put all these pagan names to all these pagan dates: Monday, Moon Day, Tuesday, all these different dates. Saturn Day, Saturn. It's all these vile pagan things that they've added to our calendar and our system that. It serves their purposes more so than it does ours. But yeah, the Julian calendar would be a more intelligent thing to move back to. That's a short answer.
Well, my answer is that I have been called to say, look, I got Starbucks in Starbucks coffee, and they say, hey, man, there's this, the fish goddess of some kind with her legs spread, and I don't know what a sailor's going to do with that thing. I don't even know, man. I mean, he's got to be pretty hard up to even try to nail that thing. But I'm not worshiping any devil. What is that with that? And people that think like that, well, I suggest they send me their dollar bill because there's all kinds of pagan things on that. And then when they go to work on Monday or they have fun on Saturn Day, they're already worshiping the devil right there just by looking at the calendar and paying attention to the days of the week. So I don't want to hear their damn crap.
A lot of Christians have got their head straight in the last several years and found out Jesus wasn't, he wasn't born on Christmas. Easter being this egg-laying rabbit in the Tammuz and all that connection of this, pagan stuff. It's diabolical. If you want to go look up like satanic holidays, if you just look that up, you'll find the list in Wikipedia. You'll find all these major holidays we have now match all these satanic holidays. And why is that? Why do they want us worshiping on their favorite days of all their vile stuff?
Did you just take a swipe at the Easter bunny? My friend, the bunny. He don't hurt nobody. He's hopping along. He drops an egg or two, and I don't know how they come out colored one time of the year. And Greg, and here you taking swipes at him. I suppose he's a racist too, isn't he? Easter bunny. All right, let's get on to it.
They should get on him because he's white. I don't know. Maybe that's something too.
Jax, okay, change channel. How about this one here? How many Okay, that ain't it. Okay, what about citric acid in vitamins? You always see that in there.
Well, look at the major things you buy. The apple juice, applesauce. You find things like in just Idaho white potatoes. They use it as a whitener. In some cases, they use it as a preservative. A lot of cases, even there's something out of Utah that's called apple beer. That's actually good. It's not real beer. It's not non-alcoholic. Very good. It's made out of real apples. Look it up. It's it's good to drink. They put citric acid in there, and yet on the first part of the bottle it says no preservatives. Yet it is a major label preservative. So why in the hell did they put this citric acid in there unless Colonel Joe made the determination when he did his audios with Frank Whalen and said it straight out. He believes citric acid has been put in our diet on a heavy basis to remove this oxalic acid that we need to purge this all this cancer cells from our body so that it can cause us to have cancer and wipe out the population. And that's one of the things we can get to later in the show with the chart that I sent you this morning.
And like I told you before on the pre-show, before we were talking, I said, man, we're just going to let the stream of consciousness run this show tonight. And man, here we are talking, and it looks like we're going to nutrition, man. Everybody's talking about beets. You know, the lowly beet smells like a clod of dirt, you know, and I think that's the main problem. Everybody's saying that it's good. The beet thing, you take that and it's going to cure everything. What's your take on that?
Well, most of the beets that you get, all the major sugar, a lot of it's beet sugar. It's actually made from beets, and there's not hardly any form of beet you can get now that's not GMO. So you have to find stuff that's non-GMO certified. And cane sugar's, lo and behold, still one of the few things that are not so much genetically modified. So I'd stay away from beets altogether unless you can get heirloom seeds and grow your own. Forget it.
Man, what about if I take some beet powder, man? That kick it in?
Non-GMO. Go for it. Find it.
So what's the matter with GMO, Greg?
It's one of those things you get smart or die trying.
Okay, well,
you know, if you go find if you look up the records that talk about Monsanto and their main, you know, at their main headquarters, they have their own cafeteria. All the stuff they serve their employees is non-GMO.
What's up?
And
hey,
yet,
doesn't Monsanto make fiberglass flooring?
They make all kinds of chemical stuff. They do a lot of stuff.
What are they doing making food? They're making food out of my floor. All right, let's get to another question. This is from Georgia. Listen, Greg, you agreed to come on. You knew what was waiting for you, and I love you for it, brother. All right, here's Philip from Georgia. What's the long-term effect of taking some mercury?
God, you don't even have to get the long-term effect.
I don't even know why you would take mercury, man. Unless you want
to get it out of your teeth, if you can get it out.
Unless you want to be a human thermometer. Maybe that's why you want to take it. All right, let's go see. Okay.
There's a reason why they called them Mad Hatters in the old days. Because they actually use mercury and actually, you know, processing the leather in the headbands of these hats, the top hats, the people put them on, and that mercury would seep into your system. And, you know, it's not a genius to find out why.
Hey, Greg, now listen, man, we're talking about the calendar, okay? There's a date that's coming up, making a lot of people nervous. They're getting all kind of scared. And it's September 23rd. A lot of people say there's some bad stuff coming up on this thing. What are we going to do, man? Do we got to hide under a rock? What do we got to do, man? We got to blast off the planet and then get to a safer planet out there? What?
I don't see why hiding and watching wouldn't be a safe bet. We don't know what the biblical account of this is, if it's really accurate, it's really true. This woman with, you know, crown of 12 stars, and the little Jupiter comes out of her, womb, and it produces the man-child. There's a lot of scientific stuff that gets, you get the picture. It's the question of what is the biblical account of this that actually is true or not.
Wait a minute.
So, go ahead.
Wait a minute, man. Okay, what's coming out of the womb? That's first thing.
Jupiter is as a star. It's supposed to be a representation of the nation of Israel or God's people.
How big you got to be to come out the star, the planet Jupiter? How big you got to be for something to come out of Jupiter, out of its womb, man? You got to be bigger than that.
Virgo's got, you know, maybe small legs and, you know, like a wide hips. I don't know, man. It's hard to say.
Well, I always thought Virgo. See, I always equated Virgo with a virgin. So how is that even getting impregnated over there?
It's that supernatural thing, you know, the virgin birth. It's something like that. It's supposed to coalesce. People read the book of Revelation, they might figure out this means something. This is our.
Wait a minute.
This is April the 1st, kind of a comedy show for this year, I think.
Okay, John Hagee, not too long ago, he was saying he wrote all kind of books, and he got a big old thing going on about the blood moon, man. It's coming on us, and everybody's buying his books. They show like 3 or 4 red moons. Nothing happened. Maybe he needs to write a book on September 23rd and cash in on that date too, because that seems like he's eating pretty good, so that's probably how he's getting all his food. But I'm just saying, those dates mean nothing.
People had fun with the Left Behind series, and I think it's left us all behind because none of that never amounted to anything. Tim LaHaye and all that Left Behind.
Man, I tell you what, they cashed in that whole organization. That was an industry of Left Behind. They had Left Behind for kids, Left Behind for grandma, Left Behind for transgenders. Every group they could think of, man, they had a Left Behind series trying to cash in on that thing. And listen, man, if you look at the Harvey hitting Texas, they got left behind. I mean, people are not getting out. They're not going to get a free pass and fly up in outer space just because something happens to the planet. And I'm getting tired of people trying to make money off of that.
I know it. They're not gonna be happy when that lie doesn't work out for them, and I feel sorry for them. And I at least the guy from the 700 Club, you remember him? You probably remember his name.
Pat Robertson.
No, the other guy, 700 Club, years ago.
The gay
Jim
guy?
And Tammy Baker.
Yeah, Jim Baker. Yeah, the guy.
He went to prison. Supposedly, there was records that came out that actually it wasn't his financial doings that they put him in prison, but his accountant they should have thrown in there. Mm-hmm. He was a kind of pre-tribber before that. You go look at him now; he's talking against the pre-trib rapture. So prison time woke him up. The guy Ken Hovind used to have this creationist museum thing. Didn't actually pay his employees properly. Didn't pay taxes. Went to jail. There's a video that's called After the Tribulation. Mm-hmm. A guy did a good video about that. It's about 2 hours long. He talked about the pre-trib rapture. He interviewed Ken Hovind while he was still in prison, and Ken Hovind had changed his mind about the pre-trib rapture. So maybe all these people get a little jail time. They might actually learn something.
Well, look, I had to find out. I want to know because I saw Jim Baker, man, and God bless his daughter. She railed out some song on there. What was that song? She was singing out this song "Staying Alive," and I said, "God, please turn that off." Are you kidding me? But anyway, I think before he was in a gay bathhouse, and while he was doing that, Tammy Faye started throwing herself out at the help, and that's just something I read. I'm not saying it's true. That's just what I know. Read. So I'm not sure about all that going on. But since you're mentioning the televangelists and all that, we got to talk a little bit about Joel Osteen. Okay. You know what happened there? Did he really say he was waiting for a call from the government before he was going to open up his mega church?
It just makes me wonder what the hell was on that guy's mind, Yeah.
I mean,
if you've got a place that can shelter people, why aren't you doing it? This is just as crazy. If you remember a few years ago, you want to have fun looking something up. There was a thing in the news about, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. This church had this massive, I'm talking about a tall Jesus statue out in front of their church. This thing cost $250,000 for this silly ass statue. It was a time that it was all it's just one of those big monument things. Got hit by lightning, burnt to a crisp, and instead of getting the message that God really wasn't in favor of this thing and didn't like this idolatry thing, these fools got together with the idea they were going to have the company in Florida that made this one go back and make another one for another $250,000. Well, how many people could you help house and feed with that? And do these people not even have a conscience? That's an example of.
Joel Osteen, he's got this massive tricked out church. Okay. This thing is tricked out when you go in there. You got smoke machines. You got strobe lights flying in through there. I don't know. It's a freak show, man. It don't sound like the church, the early church. And I'm thinking, hey, he's got this mega mansion and probably got gated all around it. Why don't he invite some folks over there and show the true love of the Lord? But I don't think so. Here's another question. I can
only say that his dad was a better man. So
yeah, okay.
I could say that.
Okay. All right, I got to tone it down on them because man, they making me mad. All right, maybe he's got an overdose of resonance, man. His vibrations is gone into the negative. All right, we're going with this one here. Is the sun, the changing sun, causing sinkholes all over the earth?
It's kind of a mystery as to what these loud sounds are around the world and the sinkholes and how they correlate. I haven't seen any good actual reports that accurately explain why some of these are so circularly perfect. And, they just think it's like collapsing domes underneath the earth. I'm not really sure. I don't really know for sure if there's some space-based weaponry stuff, that there's something tinkering with something. That's something I haven't looked into close, and I'm not really sure. But it serves the purpose of being a mystery that needs to be solved before more things happen that shouldn't. People need to be aware. Like the one, Bayou Corn. We know that's a major salt dome down in Louisiana. It started to collapse, had all this methane in it. They promised everybody that it was going to explode and wipe out a big portion of the South. Didn't ever happen. Covered with water, of course, would stop all that. But this is another question. What are all these things that are happening around the world? All this big cracks opening up in Arizona. Guy's house gets almost turned into, puff of smoke. All these major earthquakes, 40 or more. There's a company that you can look this up, RSOE.
Okay.
Emergency Services. They actually do. It's out of Europe. Specifically RSOE, Emergency Systems. They would keep track of all these major volcanoes all around the world. About within the last 5 years, they have shut down all the reports of all these major new earthquakes of different places around these volcanoes. 43 of them in the last count from several years ago. They had to shut down their part of their system and go get the information from somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But even they had extinct volcanoes coming back to life. They had ancient volcanoes that were coming back to life. People ought to be more interested in what planet we live on, what we have in the offing for the near future. Are we really getting the picture yet? If God's sending a message, are we getting it? If it's what's being filtered. Go ahead.
Well, no. What do you think that message is, Greg?
We are definitely in the end times. We're in some form of up to the end of something being changed on a big scale. We should do a show on that. Okay. We should do a show. I'm telling you, man.
Listen, man. You're already on my regular list.
Okay.
But man, a while ago, and speaking of that, things changing. You threw out the Mandela effect. Now, every time that I try to distance myself from the Mandela, he crops back up, coming up out of the grave, and something I see is unfamiliar to me, and I wonder, is it my memory, or is some supernatural effect happening based on the Mandela change or the original Mandela thing? So, what's your take on it?
Well, people can look up that little link in there on my bio thing for my audio that talks about this thing called the quantum shift, and there is definitely something going on with this. If they want to have fun for 2 hours and 26 minutes listening to an audio that's very well made and not like the regular stuff you get, it's text to speech, but it's not your average text to speech. I mean, I went through and worked on this myself and did a lot of precision work and coming through with this, and people could learn about this thing about the quantum shift. There's very likely that this thing that we've always wondered about in science called ether. And in the scientific, a lot of our talking about science fiction, they always name this thing called tachyons. There's stuff that exists above the speed of light that has an effect on it. And if they, the short version, go look that up, read it, listen to it. Actually, pull up the PDF, read the PDF, and listen to the audiobook at the same time. And you'll be able to follow through it very easily. There's a lot of good links in the PDF, and you'll learn a whole lot that you don't know. So out there, everybody go to it and enjoy it.
Okay, I'll tell you what, man, that's a good place for us to stop. We take a 5-minute break here. Greg, just stay on the line, turn your audio down, and we're going to take you out of the picture, and we'll be back with you in 5 minutes, okay?
Okie doke.
All right, everybody, you're watching and/or listening to the Edge Television broadcast. My name is Daniel Lott. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be and put it into our Tune In Radio playlist for your re-enjoyment. All the links will be put into the guest bio section as well. Now let's go back to our newsmaker line and welcome back Greg Coleson, all the way from northern New Mexico. Greg, welcome back.
How do?
Well, whoa, relating to the old cowboy, eh? Hey, you got any cowboys up there, by the way?
We have our share, and you could probably hear some if the goats are loud enough. The neighbors got some. The horse on the other side. So yeah, it's kind of like a miniature funny farm, I call it, because there are people who are not really having a farm themselves. They're just doing it for pets and enjoyment and whatever. The Mormons down the hill, same thing. So yeah.
Hey, now I may not ask you, Greg, but are you a prepper?
I'd like to be ready for anything. If people don't get ready for this, if you're going to get thrown into a situation where you're living in the chuck wagon era, you might as well actually know how to live that way. So my dad was the old guy that, he hoboed across the United States when he was 12 years old and joined the CC camps in California when he was 17. He learned a lot, taught me a lot. if anybody could make it, he would. If anybody could learn from somebody like that, I did. So there you go.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, it seemed like a lot of people in the Houston area should have been preppers, because even natural disasters is certainly a reason to do so. So when it all comes down, what do you foresee as the nearest worldwide catastrophe, the upcoming one, I guess, and then how would you prepare for it?
Well, they've been planning for a long time to have some sort of collapse of society anyway, just because it's a gradual, ongoing thing at this moment in history anyway. Cancer's on the increase. You're going to survive cancer or not? Like they said, 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women are going to have cancer within their lifetime now. Some of the new statistics are saying half of the population can expect to get it in their lifetime. How much farther down the road do we have to see how many people get cancer and die from it? The numbers, if I've got some friends that are in insurance business, they're looking at the statistics, and it's boggling their mind, the volumes of people that are passing on in every age. So
well isn't the rise of autism in direct proportion to whatever they're putting in the chemtrails and the GMOs? I mean, where's that? Isn't that an indicator?
Yeah, well, they put a lot of mercury. They used to put a lot more mercury in the vaccines. They switched over to aluminum. That's not any better. 20 years ago, they warned not to actually use metal utensils inside your aluminum pots because you'd get too much metal, aluminum scrapings. It could lead to Alzheimer's, mad cow disease of another form. Why the hell isn't this a problem? What are they telling us to do now? Skip taking butter. Stop eating things like coconut oil. Coconut oil is the one oil that's out there that doesn't turn rancid in your guts. Probably the most healthy oil you can eat. Look at the American Heart Association's telling you not to eat coconut oil now. So if they're telling you not to do it, it's probably good for you. Everything they say is the opposite of the truth. So
great. So then I can have a Mounds bar and feel good about it. Because you already got me off of ice cream and tapioca, man. Can I have a Mounds bar? It's got coconut in there, Greg. Come on, man.
I know it. Almond Joy was my favorite too. So
okay, what's wrong with the nuts? They bad? Sometimes you
feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't.
I'll tell you what, the last administration had a nut in the White House. Hey, speaking of that, there's been some videos surfacing about Michelle Obama grabbing her crotch.
There's got to be something else going on with that. She's got man hands, man fingers and stuff that it's just not, she's not normal, but God help them. I'm glad they're not in the, White House anymore. They didn't do nothing for the rest of us. So
yeah,
whatever.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's get to another question. What do you think about the G5 system?
Be more specific.
I can't because Steve L's out of the live chat didn't give me any more to work with. All right. All right, here's
That's something new I haven't probably run across.
Steve L's, you're bugging me, man. Make those questions clear. All right.
Yeah.
How about this one? Do you know about the chalky substance they give you when they give you magnetic resonance imaging? What's going on with that?
Yeah, there's kind of things like bismuth, and in some cases, a lot of times it's bismuth, but there's stuff that's supposed to help you. When you drink this stuff in, there's like radioactive materials you drink in to do, you get x-rays and you see all your insides, you see all your arteries and such.
Right.
And there leads more to that. There was one thing that Colonel Joe didn't get to do before he died.
Oh.
He was on the verge of proving that oxalic acid is one of the major ingredients also that would stop and eliminate heart disease. Because from his reports, and it's come out in mainstream science, that the stuff they call plaque in your arteries isn't cholesterol. It's a buildup of calcium. And oxalic acid is one of the major ingredients your body needs to rotor this stuff out and actually make you live longer and save your life. But, it's idiocracy doesn't want us to survive.
So we want to clean the pipes out. And what's the best way of doing that?
Carrot juice, a lot of different ones. Carrots has high concentrations of oxalic acid. Okay. Again, if you know how to use rhubarb, you can get a certain amount of it without damaging yourself. If you have cancer, look up the book on Amazon. Francis, you could pick up that book off the shelf over there, maybe. And I'll show it up on the screen in a minute. She'll have to find it. But that's one good book you can find from Amazon. You shouldn't pay more than $14.95 for it. Colonel Joe gave his life for that book, and I honor that man with my life.
Oh, man.
So, next.
Yeah, we definitely don't want the doctor going there with a damn roto-rooter, man. I'd rather go organic, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Colonel Joe called oxalic acid God's chemotherapy. And it is the real thing. It's the good stuff. It's the way you're supposed to eat. All these, how come in nature, you go look at nature and all these plants, the plants, the roots, the herbs and stuff, and all these things that are wild weeds that animals eat, why in the hell aren't they having epidemics of cancer? They're eating all the plants. If people go look at the thing that's called the Gershon Diet, Gershon was famous for curing over 1,200 people from cancer in his day back in the early 1900s. They vilified this man and run him almost completely into oblivion, but people are honoring his life by remembering that he learned how to do this thing. And all the stuff that's in the juicing, you eat the raw vegetables, raw foods and things, you get the oxalic acid directly in your bloodstream. It'll annihilate and save you from cancer.
Well, see, I was passing, speaking of that, I was passing a horse farm, and then I'm looking at the horses out in the field, and I'm thinking, there ain't no transgender horses out there, and I don't see in a million years they're going to evolve into a transgender horse. So somebody's got to be contaminating the human mind so they can accept such evil doings as such. Or
contaminating the water supply.
Is that where it's coming from?
A lot of the PC, the stuff that's the BPAs and stuff, and other transgenic hormone stuff that's in water and other plastics. Well, they fed it to fish. Fish become hermaphroditic, and is causing other people to do the same thing. So children growing up having the tendency to turn gay, it could probably be a lot to do with plastic, and it's not our fault. It's what's being done to us. Go back 150 years and ask yourself the question, how many people were turning to that 150 years ago? So why are they turning to it now? Why is all the chemicals in our food and our system causing us so much trouble?
And why is it making men wear skinny jeans? I don't even get that. That's the first sign that something's gone horribly wrong. Here's a question from Curious out of the live chat, Dr. Greg. What is the best thing for kidney health? A lot of people, they want to keep their kidneys clean, keeping the pipes clean and flushed out. What do you recommend?
Same thing. Dr. Joel Wallach, Youngevity.com. He's a man that's he's over 75. The guy looks like he's 57. He worked alongside Merlin Perkins, the guy that used to do the old TV series, Wild Kingdom. He done a lot of autopsies in his day on animals, done animal research, finding out in the animal husbandry world, in the real livestock world, they know how to cure all these things like aneurysms in your head, copper deficiency in turkeys. They cured that stuff. They've cured, kidney stones and stuff. They know how it is. It's actually a calcium deficiency that causes kidney stones in the first place.
You said animal husbandry. Are you saying that people is marrying their horses?
Is that a new one, or I haven't heard that one yet? So
you just said animal husbandry. I figured he's married, man. All right, let's get on. Hey, this one here, man.
Here's a copy of the book right here.
There you go. What does it say?
Look at it.
Okay, here we go. Cancer and the cure is in food. Oxalic acid, God's natural chemotherapy. Now, you said this is the book that literally saved your life by Colonel Joe.
Yep. Colonel Francis Joe Hart.
Now, there's been a thing on the internet said that there's a lot of doctors that prescribe organic type of cures that are just dying off. And I'm thinking, well, if their cures working so well, why are they dying off? Unless somebody's killing them, of course. Is that that's what's happening? There's
some of that too. That they have knocking off some of these holistic doctors.
Well, how did they make it? Greg, how did they make it to Hillary's list? I don't get that.
I don't know. Well, they want us dead on the evil bastard side, and we want to live. And they're helping. They're helping get rid of people that would make it possible for us to live. That's their idea in their mind. Their devious lizard mind. They want people to be knocked off. They want to get rid of us. And it's that whole idea of this whole premise, if you go look at things in Wikipedia, they're talking about the lizard brain, our lizard mentality, the thing, you'll find what a fraud behind that is. There's a whole fraud behind all that system of the idea that we are, have that lizard brain idea. There's a whole lot in there that goes more to these Aleister Crowley and Alice Baileys and all these other crazy people from the past that they, geneticists, genocidals. There's that book. What was a particular book, Francis? You remember? Alice Bailey. Famous books.
Does Francis remember?
Perhaps. Yeah. It's
Well,
I'll think of it when I'm not thinking.
Okay, well, tell Francis everybody on the Edge television broadcast says hello.
Hi, Francis, from everybody.
Okay, hey, man. Now, being in New Mexico, do you got any radiation like from earlier testing?
Well, we're too far north, of the winds patterns. We're too far northwest of that. All the stuff they did that back in Los Alamos was in the middle part of the country. If you go too much further toward White Sands, you'll run into a little bit of that. You drive through the area in White Sands, they won't even allow you. They'll arrest you if you stop beside the road and pick up any of that white sand as a sample. If they catch you at it, they'll throw your ass in jail. So you ask yourself a question: is there a lot of radioactive leftover dust from white sands filtering out through stuff? Who knows? Probably not up here where we're at. If you go to some place called Mesa Verde up in Colorado, incredible place to see, incredible thing to visit. It's a big mesa where all these Indians inhabited sometime back in the distant past. You go 50 miles south of that, you'll find all the uranium mines and stuff that they picked up, all the uranium that they produced for a lot of the White Sands laboratory stuff to build the atomic bomb. They want to build a new railroad tracks into that area and start mining more uranium again. Haven't done it yet, but gotta help them. I hope they don't.
I'll tell you what, man. If somebody ever got there near Fukushima and catch some fish, they can eat it at night because it glows in the dark. All right, let's get to another question for you. Now I could probably answer this, and I know what you're going to say, but let's just say, are vaccines okay to take, or are they doing more damage than they purport to help?
There's a difference between vaccines and actual inoculations. And if you look at some of the research, the real doctors that know the stuff that actually works, that they give themselves and other fellow friends, is called inoculations. The stuff we get that's called vaccines has more latent cancerous stuff in it than you can possibly imagine. One of the key ingredients, a guy by the name of Dr. Tint, look up a YouTube video that's called Exploding Autoimmune Epidemic. And has Dr. Tint involved in that. He'll tell you about something called Dr. Mary's Monkey, a book you can also read that deals with all the era back in the Kennedy era. They did research to try to produce a cancer cell that was virulent enough to kill people within a short period of time.
What's he doing with his monkey?
It's called Dr. Mary's Monkey because this particular virus that they worked on was a simian virus. A simian is the breed of animals we call monkeys. The particular virus they developed, after 40 cycles they went through using a linear accelerator, massive amount of electrical energy through this linear accelerator, making radiation tests on this virus.
Wait a minute.
Mutate it. There's the book right there.
Hey, what about how do I get the I got the monkey book here, man? I guess I'm playing with my monkey here. All right, so
SV40 virus is the thing that talks about in that book. Dr. Tint covers a lot. You get to go to that YouTube video. We should try to put up a link to it if you can, sometime. I can send it to you, et cetera, et cetera. But Exploding Autoimmune Epidemic, and this man will tell you as much about vaccines as you can find out in a short 2-hour video that you'll ever learn in your life. And he covers very distinctly why we have an autoimmune epidemic. It's caused by viruses, produced by electromagnetic frequencies, too much cell phone to your head, cell phone around electromagnetic, too many wires around your life. We're dying, and, we just got to learn how to live again. If we get smart or die, just like I always used to say.
Well, if anybody don't got the monkey book, they can get with it and they can play with it. All right, let's get to another question. Now, this is interesting here. How can you get rid of persistent fungus infection? Is there a relationship between fungus and cancer?
There is a lot of stories being going around the internet that say that there's some sort of microphage things that may be causing cancer as well. There's also things about fungus that may be core. Alex Jones has talked about on his show that maybe there's a lot of these different types of funguses that have been mutated by various means that we've inhaled from the atmosphere. Who the hell knows if they're put in the chemtrail stuff? A guy by the name of Clifford Carnicom from many years ago did a lot of research about this stuff that's in the chemtrail stuff, found actual human blood cells in it, found chicken blood in it, found all kinds of stuff in there, and viruses and other things in chemtrail stuff. So it's not a coincidence that, things are out there that want to keep us dead, keep us from producing more.
Don't nobody be dead today. That's the rule here on the Edge Television broadcast. All right, let's get all right, let me get to another question here real quick. Well, I guess the answer, the question was the new cell masked system. We G4 now have G5 coming up. Does that make sense to you?
Oh.
The new cell mask system?
It's the thing like G5, like the the LTE you got on your phone. It's like the 5G faster speeds. It's if higher frequencies have any more effect on it, it can penetrate. That's the difficulty of this thing. The higher the frequency, the more deeper it can actually penetrate into your body system. Yes, it's very likely that it could get farther into your guts and actually mutate cells deeper into your body. Most of the UVC will damage the skin and actually cause skin cancer. That's a proven thing. But you get in some of these higher frequencies and stuff, it will, who knows how much cancers we'll have on a faster scale from the 5G network stuff. Possibly.
So the UVC is impregnating your cell and changing the frequency so that you turn into a transgender. Am I getting this right?
That's for the comic books, but it's it'd make a good story.
Okay, okay. All right. Now I have I got a legit question this time. Okay. When they turn CERN on, is there any way that we can know it?
They say that there is some connection between Schumann resonance increases in certain parts of the world, that if you can monitor that, electromagnetic field increases and stuff, if anybody's got instruments around it, you probably could. And I've not looked too distinctly close to this to find out, but I know the ELF, it's Schumann resonance is in the extreme low frequency range. There's the Navy uses an ELF system to communicate around the world that bypasses all our known systems of communication. You wonder if you had one of those type of radios off of a Navy ship, what you could pick up, what you could listen to, what you could find out. It's a good possibility. Yeah. It's a matter of what actual damage is caused by CERN. You can read my quantum shift. I downscale it quite a bit because I think it takes vastly more energy than CERN's producing to do the effects that we can call the Mandela effect. The quantum shift is what I call it. People can learn more from that. So go ahead.
Do you think that the Mandela effect actually is changing verses in the Bible?
I've seen that for a fact in my own case. I've seen it. There's many people that's seen the verses like on earth as it is in heaven. There's too many people that remember the way it was and see it as in earth is entirely different. But I take that as an interesting message that God's trying to, you haven't heard yet, if I didn't say this the last time we did it on the show, as it says it in there in that one passage, God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven is what it used to be. If it's been changed to God's will be done in earth as it is in heaven, if there is anything going on underneath this earth, inside the earth, they should take that as a stern message from Almighty God. No matter how deep you go and how far you try to hide, God's still going to have his will done in the entirety whole of this earth, whether they like it or not. So,
all right, here's a question from Kat out of the live chat. Does the Schumann resonance make you tired and electric in your body?
I think there's this thing about even the Cliff High was talking about these unknown energies from space and affecting the also internal parts of the earth. There is a tremendous amount more agitation in society. Animals are exhibiting it, even down to the plant scale. The plants are changing in such a way that it seems like they're exhibiting mutations that's not normal mutations. It's not from gamma ray bursts. It's not just from X-rays. There's other internal stuff happening, and we're being bombarded from every area of life. The chemicals, electromagnetic stuff from space, from distant galaxy stuff, distant all this stuff, the sun. We're just being torn down and torn apart. It's a wonder if there's anybody left at the moment.
Well, I certainly know that the Antifa is agitated. I mean, them bastards, they're mad at everybody, okay, and they don't even know why they're mad. Is this where that's coming from, Greg?
I think they're more satanically inspired than just like all the rest of them. That poor dude, you remember from years ago, the Salman Rushdie that wrote that book called The Satanic Verses, and they put a hit out on him and stuff.
Yeah.
Too bad that didn't make world population, book sales of #1 title. Just put the hurt on these people.
Well, I see. At first I thought they was just all kind of stupid. And then I figured that they're stupid. And then I think, man, it's even worse than that. So I don't know. They're just angry. They're just mad. I said, why are you mad, bro? They don't even know, man. They go around hitting people with clubs and stuff. Here's a question from Peter in Australia. It says, have you heard about copper's use as the body's natural fungus fighter?
Silver's better. Copper degrades a little bit too much. And in the case of going back to the mercury amalgam in teeth some 20 years ago and back was 50% mercury. that the mercury, it's your amalgams. That's what's in your teeth, 50%. The new copper version is 50 times worse, simply because the copper formation that they're putting in the amalgams in your teeth. If you notice copper cups, if you ever drank out of a copper cup, you wear a copper bracelet, the acids in your skin makes, the green rash you get on your skin.
Yeah.
The copper degrades and actually corrodes easier in the amalgam in your teeth. If you have copper fillings with the mercury in it, you're in deep trouble because you're getting a higher dose of mercury in there from that. I would pick silver. I pick silver as being, as the Bible perspective on silver is, it's the metal of purity. And for some reason, in a biblical and an archival way, this is the most premium grade substance on the face of the earth to stop all known viruses, bacteria, and fungus. And there's nothing yet has come about to show that there's anything better than silver.
What about, I was hear advertisement for colloidal silver. Is that stuff pretty good?
If you want to get something that actually works, could you go pick up that bottle, that silver 240 on it? There's another one there's one that's called Oxy Silver. It's the Pattis 30, the name Pattis. You could bring that one too, if you want. And I'll show you something. There's an oxygenated silver that actually gets into your system much more enhanced and on small molecular level. The smaller the molecular particle, the better. I got to wait to rewatch this video so you get all the bubbles of your head, dude.
How do you know about
Here's this stuff that's called Pattis 30.
Okay, yeah.
The company that makes it's called ASAP Silver is the common name. This is 30 parts per million. It's made by a company called American Biotech.
Okay.
The United States government buys this in mass quantities in the gel form that's called ASAP. They bought vast quantities of ASAP gel with colloidal silver in it. And there's a reason they did it in vast quantities when there was all this trouble with all that Ebola virus and all that stuff. They were taking care of themselves and let everybody else go, sit. This is another fine one that's called Pro Silver 240. Now, this is the only thing I would use that has citric acid in it. This has citric acid with a potassium molecule bound to it.
Wow.
And it uses, this is the smallest particle of silver you will ever get in your system from this substance right here. The silver is free floating inside this colloidal type process. The colloidal silver, the silver molecules attached to the citric acid. Potassium's free floating. Sometimes I forget. I'm tired, dude. I've had a long day. It's hot here. It's like 94 degrees. Our air conditioner's kind of broke down, so we're cooking.
Man, so
so this stuff here, if you go do the research, people look this up. You can find it on Amazon. It's called Pro Silver 240. It's 240 parts per million. When this stuff, you get this in your body, it only takes one drop for every 20 pounds of body weight. You take it in your system, the citric acid releases the silver, binds with the potassium, so the citric acid won't hurt you in any form. You can take drops of this directly in your eye. If you have severe allergy season problems, you get started on this, you will stop your allergy problems.
Wow.
This stuff is the stuff that does it. This is a very small bottle, $50, but this goes a very, very long ways. If you haven't done it, then I'll send you some research stuff on this, Daniel, so you can get some yourself.
Okay, well,
and
sure.
Speaking of oxalic acid, again, in one more frame, I'll send you some information about the beekeeping stuff that oxalic acid helps in the beekeeping world that a lot of people don't know about. This you may have run it across yourself, maybe. But do some research about oxalic acid. It'll help in the preserving the bees and stuff, and help the whole system.
So, but if you take a lot of say colloidal silver and the various silver products you got, like when you go through an airport. Will it trigger the alarm and then cause the TSA to do their Michelle Obama impression, start grabbing people's crotches? Will it trigger that if you have so much in your system?
You'd have to take a quantity of it that would amount to swallowing, the mass quantity of like a silver dime all at once. And you've seen those stories. If you go look it up, it's a farce that this one fool that they have, damned the whole of colloidal silver with, because this guy ate enough of it to turn physically blue. It's not a common case and not a common occurrence of this happening everywhere. So if people want to die from all the bacteria and fungus and stuff, and if they just want to, live the stupid life and not save themselves and use this stuff like it can be used to save. I've saved my buddy back in Iowa. His daughter went for a trip down there in Ames, Iowa, to the laboratory for a field trip.
Okay.
She got exposed to some of that really bad fungal stuff that's airborne at the time that was causing people massive amount of trouble, and they were having a lot of people, they couldn't get over this stuff. It kept, I don't know how many people, they secretly didn't bother to tell how many people died from it. I sent this to my buddy's daughter. She started on this. It took a while before they actually let us know because, they've been busy in their lives. She spent a whole month on the best stuff they had and got sicker and sicker from it. She got on the colloidal silver. Within 3 days, she was able to have an appetite and got well, and she took the bottle, and it saved her life. But other people, Alex Jones talked about that wave of all that fungus. He had some family members die from it. Some of this other macrophage bacteria that's in the chemtrail stuff, the chemtrail flu, they're trying to kill us. But if you want to survive, learn how to survive. Otherwise,
So, I mean, you mentioned Alex Jones a couple of times. So do you recommend people get his male vitality?
Haven't tried it, but I can't prove that it doesn't work. There's enough people that actually been taking this stuff that I can commend them for the efforts they've made to go through the process of producing good quality stuff. And the fact that Evil Bastards Incorporated is working overtime to put them out of the picture must mean that they're having a tremendous effect on the population and helping people out. It may make money for themselves, but I don't see that they're making a hell of a lot because they're selling this stuff under cost.
Well, I got an easier way for people to do this. Just turn themselves into a cowboy like me, because when you're a cowboy, you got all the male vitality you need. Hey, here's a question. What about oregano oil? Does that do anything for us?
It's pretty good. A lot of people the last number of years, though, have been finding out the same thing I've discovered because of this quantum shift. A lot of these old stuff we used to use is the stuff that's becoming more virulent and more dangerous, more mutated and more adjusted. That a lot of this older stuff that's the natural type substances aren't working like they used to. And I had a good friend up there. She's out of Concordia. She works for the Concordia University, and she's been sick for a lot of years and has tried all this natural stuff she could get her hands on, and it wasn't doing anything for her. I helped her start with the silver and get on some other stuff like that did work. And a lot of this stuff, people are dying from it, even though all these naturopath doctors are dying along with it. Some of it's just not helping. So you have to find other means that will work. And because silver is an actual metal, and a bacterial, a fungus, or virus can't produce an immunity to just an element on the periodic table.
Greg, didn't in the old wagon trail days, didn't they put a silver dollar in the water barrel that they took with them?
Yes, that, and even in World War I, they had actual silver canteens, water canteens to drink out of. They stopped doing that, around World War II because, they don't want people learning about this stuff. But it's not hard to find out. You could go do research in the last 10, 15 years. They actually have Tupperware that's silver impregnated in the plastic. They have actual silver impregnated gaskets for refrigerators. They have a device that you can find Hammerson and Schlimmer. There's a catalog. It's hard to pronounce these weird names. There's a catalog that produces a device about the size of a microwave that uses solid silver. It lasts the life of the machine. That you can put anything in there, fungi, shoes, or whatever. You've got all kinds of stuff you've picked up at the gym or whatever. You put your shoes in the machine. It vaporizes enough silver to sterilize everything in it. So there's nothing been proven that silver doesn't work. It even goes back to the era of the Egyptians. The Egyptians knew how to electroplate metal. They knew how to make colloidal minerals. They knew how to live off this stuff, and they had technology that even would rival some of the stuff we, stupidly finally discovered this stuff. Only 100 years ago, these people knew it several thousand years back.
Well, Greg, okay, so you got me off ice cream, you got me off tapioca pudding. The jury's still out on almond joy. But what about milk duds? Can I have a few of them? Will I be all right?
Everything in moderation. Remember, you can probably get fat and die from eating that stuff too if you eat too much of it. It's probably true,
Okay. Here's another one for you. What about black seed cumin oil?
Yes, black seed oil. There's a particular company that's called the Blessed Seed. The word blessed seed. They have different variations and grades of this stuff. The black seed oil. There's an original. There's a light, and then there's an extra strength. And I'm talking about powerfully strong stuff. And it does have a tremendous effect. And even Muhammad, as much of a fool as this guy was in his ancient times, has been quoted as saying that black seed oil will cure everything but death.
Oh.
So,
wow.
And it's pretty potent stuff, and it does work. Yes.
Hey,
it's expensive.
What about I don't know if it's called grounding or earthing when you walk on the earth in your bare feet. Now, does that really do something for us?
Yes, it does. And there's a movie about grounding. People can go look it up, and it's quite phenomenal, impressive. And one of our, major astronauts, I think he's near dead. I don't think it was Buzz Aldrin, but it's one of the famous ones. He's getting old. You've seen his picture.
Yeah.
I can't remember which dude it was.
He looks like a crypt keeper, man.
He promoted it, and some of these guys.
Did you say Balls Aldrin?
It's it could be that one. If one of them's dead already,
okay.
The video is like 4, 5, 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
But the grounding thing, he was in the video and he promoted the stuff. But yes, it does work. It does help rebalance your electromagnetic field around your body. And popped out my earpiece.
Okay. 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 Listen to that. So you're barefoot on the ground, and hopefully you're not stepping on a bee. And then so what happens? Vibrations start happening, or your resonance starts resonating, or your yin and yang starts going bad, or what happens there?
It's a type of electrostatic field that actually it's a natural frequency field that's on your body that you can get too much of a concentrated negative field, positive field. You can get out of balance either way you go. Mm-hmm. You can get too much of one or too much of the other. But when you get grounded, it actually takes all this extra energy field off of you. And it seems crazy, but it works. Mm-hmm. The animals are grounded. They don't have as much illness, and they heal faster. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of proof that grounding does do exactly what it says it does, and it works. Here's the key to all this stuff. It doesn't do a damn thing for you if you don't actually put it to use. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you that is a certainty. If you don't try it, it ain't doing a damn thing for you. If you try it, it helps you. Mm-hmm. By God, you might be smart and considered an intelligent human being.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to have to watch out, because speaking of grounding and that type of thing, out I think it was in California, a group, maybe around Berkeley or something, was going to have a peace rally, and it was various speakers. I guess they were talking about freedom or peace, but it's nothing to do with race or anything. But the Antifa, they knew they were coming, so they sent out a text to all their Antifa members to take their dog to that park and try to get their dog to take a dump where the people were going to be. And I'm thinking these people might be interested in grounding, but now they can't do that because Antifa's got poop all over the place. All right, let's get to this question here. What is black salve and what's it good for?
Yeah, there's a weird black salve that can be toxic. It can get rid of some of the skin ailments and things that people have that they can't, different things on their body that doesn't heal, and how much, effort. You have to be careful with some of these things because it has extra toxins in it that can cause trouble if you use too much of it. Mm-hmm. But if you use it short term, some of this stuff works real well. But you kind of have to be careful with it, any of the stuff you use, and learn how to use it. Learn how to, use it right. You can even use hydrogen peroxide, 35% food grade. If you learn how to use it, there's a lot of idiots on the internet, YouTube you've seen, even cause people, go to the hospital, not paying attention. You got to learn how to use stuff. And if you learn how to do it from somebody that knows, you can save your life or somebody else's.
Oh, isn't hydrogen peroxide sort of listed as a cure-all anyway?
It is pretty potent, yes. It's for a lot of purposes, yes. The food grade stuff is very good. And you can make your own silver at home. If you buy the American Precious Metal Exchange sells silver by the pound, that's actual silver pellets, 3-9 fine silver. Mm-hmm. Take the smallest, minuscule pellet you can find, put it in a bottle that's not airtight, put it in your refrigerator, fill it full of this hydrogen peroxide, 35%, put the small pellet in there and watch it over a number of days, weeks. Mm-hmm. You'll see that silver starts to react and actually produce a small amount of colloidal silver inside the peroxide. You can use this as a test for fun. You get your kitchen sponge you've been playing with and cleaning your sink and stuff, and sometimes it gets real skunky. Okay, you can take this as a sample and take this stuff and dilute it down, just like it says. There's a thing called 1 minute, cure that you look that up. Mm-hmm. If anybody wanted to ask an email, in my email list, I'll send you a copy of the 1 minute cure. I'll send you a copy, Daniel, if you haven't had one yourself.
Oh, sure.
It tells you how to use hydrogen peroxide, food grade, 35%. You mix it at the ratio of 11-1, and it produces 12 ounces of just 3% hydrogen peroxide. You can take that stuff and put it on your sponge and find out after several days whether this sponge will, get all funky again. It will. But if it's got the silver in the peroxide, you put it in the sponge. I've gone up to 2 weeks I've even done home sample studies with milk in the refrigerator, just the ordinary stuff you get from home. Put the right amount of the hydrogen peroxide with silver in it in your milk, just like they used to do with the coin, like you said in the 1800s, back during the Depression. You can put that there. I've had milk go 1 month past the date with that silver peroxide solution inside the milk.
Wow. Is there any way to reverse the effects of chemtrails?
God. Well, like I said, if you can combat the stuff, the bad effects of it, there's chemical cleanses you can do. The Alex Jones people's got one that's got zeolite in it that helps take some of this heavy metal stuff out of your system. If you find the right zeolite combination, there's other chemical compositions that really absorb the metal and remove it from your body system and actually take it out. The trouble is, bentonite clay will do the same thing too. Yeah, bentonite clay is troublesome because if you take too much, it takes too many minerals out of your body. You have to replenish them with good stuff.
No, I was going to say Alex Jones has a lot of chemicals that'll take the money right out of your wallet. So, I mean,
it can, but if people really want to try to learn how to, because this stuff, it may cost some money, and if you go to other places to buy the same damn stuff, you'd be surprised how much more people are ripping people off from it. But you can go look at these ingredients and look at this stuff. It's been around a long time, and you want to ask the question, why in the hell all these holistic doctors were being murdered? They knew about all this stuff. They were helping people with it for quite a number of years, and they don't want people to be helped by stuff that's not chemotherapy or radiation.
Greg, in all the products that you mentioned in this broadcast, and who knew it was going to go to a health field tonight? That's awesome. But if somebody were to take everything that you suggested, what would their life expectancy increase? It
would increase the quality of life. I mean, if you go read that, do that YouTube audio that talks about the exploding autoimmune epidemic that Dr. Tent was talking about, and look at all these different virulent things that you don't want to take and don't want to eat that actually exacerbates your ability to actually, die from cancer. If you learn all these things that kill you, why the hell wouldn't you want to try to learn all the stuff that keeps you from dying from cancer? Because, like I said, 5 years on, I'm making it. I know people that what I had put up with. I had that hepatitis B vaccine. That's what I got at work. That's what got me off that job.
Nasty.
I took it, and 1 week from the day, the kid took it the exact same time I took it. And I didn't really know that much about the vaccines then. I didn't have it, it wasn't really talked about that much. There wasn't the plethora of stuff we've got now to learn about it. I took this stuff 1 week from the day. I was pissing stuff that looked like coffee for 2 days straight. Another 1 week later, 2 days, the same thing. 1 month from the day of taking that vaccine, I was pissing blood for the first time in my life. The kid that took this the exact same day I did was out within a week of having severe kidney pain. And the question was, what the hell was causing his kidney pain? I didn't have any pain at all, but I had the other problems instead. It was only about a week and a half later he came back on the job. He still was having kidney pains. After 3 days, he went out of work again. They actually started, this kid is in his 20s, man, early 20s, having problems he shouldn't have had caused by this vaccine. They thought he had kidney stones as much as it was hurting him. But I knew exactly what the hell caused it. And I quit that job, and I started on the process of getting well.
So you're saying if you follow the regimen that you do, that people won't need to get on Obamacare.
People are taking the fine instead of the Obamacare now, so why the hell should they get ripped off? Good example of good question.
Question coming in the fast blast. Do cloud busters and Oregon generators by William Reich destroy chemtrails?
It might just make it disperse, but if you can't actually just remove the substance from the atmosphere, because gravity works, you throw a ball up, it's going to come back down. If you can't keep these evil bastards incorporated from spraying this stuff out, I really don't know how you can prevent yourself from inhaling some of it. It's just, you have to find out what it takes to reverse all this stuff after you've been affected from it. Oregon will actually probably remove it from your area and keep it falling directly on you. I've seen these generators work. I've seen them put to use. I've seen scientific instruments used on the same premise and called something else that did exactly the same damn thing the Oregon generator did. But the physicists didn't want to call it that.
Is there any space-based defense system that the United States has?
Yes. And if anybody wants to go look this up and find out for themselves, they can do research. And Wikipedia is not the best source of anything, but they have clues, okay? Mm-hmm. And like anything else out there, there's clues. They talk very well about the Star Wars defense program and how much failure all these projects were and how many tens of billions of dollars they spent in that. But I guarantee you, I was living in New Mexico right here at the time. There was a conference they did about this thing called the X-ray laser. A lot of the guys from Los Alamos and Sandia Labs were in Congress, and they showed it on national TV and actually, local TV here. Mm-hmm. C-SPAN was probably not so much around. There's other local systems back 20 years ago, before that even. But it's like the 80s. God, time does pass, and we kind of forget how long ago it was. But it feels like it was yesterday for me. I saw this thing when they were standing there before Congress. And they were talking about the debate of whether or not the X-ray laser actually even exists. And these guys showed a demonstration on local television out of KOAT TV right here in New Mexico, a demonstration of an underground nuke that they fired off and showed how the actual detector showed the X-ray system, the X-ray energy is coming from that. And they were showing this is one of the tests we did and to prove and produce something called an X-ray laser. Well, there's a lot of scalar weapons that produced the effect we saw on 9/11, bringing the Twin Towers down. Mm-hmm. Jesse Ventura, again, dealing with somebody called the Hutchison effect. This guy Hutchison out of Canada has produced equipment that can actually levitate cannonballs, can bend spoons, and he said right to his face that this energy weapon that took down this building over in 9/11, this two-tower system, mm-hmm. that vaporized it into powder, that left a small rubble pile underneath it that should have been much vastly bigger if you took all the materials into effect. He mm-hmm. said you could destroy an entire city with that.
Did planes hit the Twin Towers?
What I've been able to determine from the video footage, the proof I've seen physically proven, that showed the actual missile pod on the bottom of the plane mm-hmm. that fired into the building momentary seconds before it hit, you could see from the color formation and the pattern, it was a United States Air Force 767 fuel tanker.
It's interesting. The other day I saw Donald Trump land in, I think probably in Houston or somewhere around there, and in the background were those exact type of planes that were like painted all gray, and I could see them in the background. And when I saw those planes sitting on the tarmac way in the back, I was thinking, that looks like what I've seen, the underside view where you see the pod on the underside of those planes that hit. Interesting. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy Klaus that did this YouTube video, or just not just YouTube, but actual DVD called 9/11 in Plain Sight, Plainsiite. Mm-hmm. He did a good job. He was married to that lady, Joyce Riley. She just passed on lately. I don't know if Klaus is still alive or not. Von Klaus, I forgot his first name. But he did a good YouTube video. People shared it on YouTube everywhere. That's where I first found it. Yeah. I bought the DVD, got high resolution, looked at it. It looks like proof to me.
Yeah,
I don't see how anybody could get out of it.
Klaus von Stinkenstein. Hey, but let me ask you something. I just say that. Hey, man. Okay, so Kim Jong-un, okay, he got that rude haircut, pissing everybody off. I mean, he's goofy, okay? Nobody even knows. Do you know that boy, he's got his military going into the local cornfields to steal corn because they're so emaciated as an army? He got his own. What kind of country is that, man? And some of those soldiers are stealing that corn and trying to take it to market because they just can't feed them. But anyway, when Donald Trump said that it's going to be a quick thing, does he got some of these, say, reversed alien technology devices, or does he got some space-based weapons ready to launch on old fat boy? That when he says that it's going to be, fire and fury, does he know something about our military weaponry that we don't know?
Before he came along, even during the Obama administration within the last couple of years, they did a demonstration for China. And if you go look this up, you'll see a pretty good sized piece of China. There was like a port city. You saw the story probably about it. There was this thing called the Rod of God that they dropped on this place as a kinetic energy weapon. Mm-hmm. It has the capability of actually creating an earthquake of at least a 5.6 and sometimes a 6. They have tremendous weapons in space that can do lots of scary stuff. Mm-hmm. And they've kind of selectively choose what they want to use. But there's a lady that came out behind the scenes in the last few years that talked about the fact that if we were ever going to be hit by asteroids, it's because they let it. that's how good she knew about the space program and the actual space technology we do have.
Okay, well then, so what you're saying is we're probably okay no matter what happens because we got the tech. Now, did we get it from aliens, or are we that smart to create it?
There's too many things I've seen myself of evidence of these type of weapons. And I mentioned one on the last show. The best name I could give it was something called a light harmonics generator. If you know anything about lasers, that you can use as a laser microphone that you can target in a window somewhere and hear conversations. If you could turn this technology around and use it in reverse and send a high impact resonant frequency into an object, you could vaporize it completely right where it sits. And I've seen the evidence of these technologies in this, and they call it in some fields, they call it radical technologies. They've got it from ancient Eastern texts. They've likely got it from somewhere off the moon as well. I could give you an interesting story sometime we do a show. Ask me about the underground tunnels that I know about in South America.
Okay, underground
some
tunnels.
of the things about that.
Okay. Underground tunnels are our next interview with you.
Okay.
Hey, I haven't heard you say we need to do a show on this or that, man. Did we haven't hit the right topics or what?
The one we were going to talk about today that we mentioned before was about, I mentioned, population reduction. There's a chart
and let me
you guys
ask you,
hadn't showed everybody.
You sent me the graph that shows a massive reduction of fuel use, and am I to gather that you're saying that's because there's not that many people still around to use that gas?
Somehow there must be a correlation. Correlation. I'm running out of words. Vocabulary's getting tired. But I'd be good for another hour if we had 3-hour show. But there's a correlation. You got all that, the one you said. Yeah. There's a connection between a lack of consumers shows a lack of sales. And why the hell is it within the last couple of years? You can go look at, everybody can go look this up. Drudge Report's reported on it regularly. The numbers of shops, stores, internet, websites, things are collapsing everywhere. So where in the hell are the people that are supposed to be buying this stuff that we're the consumers that are supposed to consume all this stuff? Why are all these stores collapsing? Radio Shack went out of business and they've been, what do they call it? My brain said Section 8, but that's different.
Whoa.
Humor. But they've done this
Even Francis like
Chapter
that.
11 bankruptcy, and there's other chapters, types of corporate bankruptcy. Sears has done the same damn thing. There's a lot of these companies that went for bankruptcy a lot of times, but why the hell is it now all of a sudden a lot of these things are going bankrupt and they're going away completely?
Is it because they're charging too high prices for crap people don't want to buy?
Well, there's probably, if that was true, Amazon would be broke too, wouldn't they? But they're the Walmart of the internet. You can practically buy anything from Amazon that you want, and they say they're even hurting. So all these questions need to be asked. If you look at the chart, and if you wanted me to, I could pull it up right quick and just show everybody, just to have a peek at it. Let me pick on this little tiny thing here. Let's see here. Share screen. Start. And there's one about rubber tires. We'll get to that later. But that's funny. Not so much. But you see this chart, if you see it on the screen.
It's not coming up for us, Greg.
It's not coming up for, why is that? I said share. Oh, wait a second. Let me try it again.
All right.
Let's try again.
I see
Stop
it.
sharing.
I see it in the reflection of your glasses.
Okay, that's funny. Share screen. I say start sharing and click. How's it look?
Can't see it.
I'll be damned.
That's because the internet police is banning that, so we can't see it.
That's pretty funny. Let me see if I can reduce this. And do you see anything else?
Nope.
Let's see. Nothing.
I see it's about 5 to 8 over there where you're at.
That does suck. Okay, that it popped up and left, huh?
But I'm trying to find out what's that little note on the on your left side there above your shoulder. What's that on the wall over there? Some kind of note.
Let's see. I'm missing that altogether because it's not showing that on my screen. I am missing something. Hang on just a second, because I can see your face in the screen on the other portion.
Can you put that in our chat?
I wonder if that would fit. I have no idea. Hang on.
I'll stick it in there. Just drag it in there and drop it.
Okay, the contents drag in chat. Like I've never tried that out. Let's see if this will actually do something.
See, we got all the tech over here. See it.
Hold what you got. Let's see if I can. I have nope. It won't capture that.
Okay.
Well, ain't that a silly thing? I know I sent the link to you earlier, and you said you could you could post it on your end.
I could, but the writing is so small. I don't think it'd work.
It is so small.
Yeah.
So the trouble is, I could just go ahead and tell people about this, and if you wanted to put the link in our bio thing or whatever, or somewhere, people can look at it and see, and I can actually give them a clue. They look up the words U.S. total gasoline retail sales by refiners in thousands of gallons per day.
Mm-hmm.
Goes back to 1983, and the peak of the gas sales started to drop right at June of 2007, and the bigger peak just before that was 2003, around July, June, July, at 66.8 million gallons of fuel sold per day. And it's been a trend. You can look at the average trend. If you look at statistically, the average is around 50 to 55 million gallons, all the way up into the point you come to at June of 2007 at 60.8 million gallons.
Okay.
This is just before that 2008 crash we had. The economic crash came just after that. I think they took advantage. This was some sort of a sign and some sort of a message that showed them that things were on the downturn. And from there, you've heard year after year after year, all the way, from 2008, every year, we just came out of the recession. We've just come out, we're in the recovery now, lie after lie after lie.
Yeah.
You continue on this graph.
Well, what if it's more fuel efficient vehicles?
I wish that were true, but we know there isn't. Look at how the volume sales of the actual vehicles, the big three companies and all the rest of them have been whining for about the last 5 years that there is a collapse in auto sales.
All right.
You get all the way down to January of 2014, the volume gas sales was at 17 million gallons. That's a 50 million gallon drop from June of 2007 all the way down to January 2014.
Okay. Well, let's go with your thesis there. Then where are the people going?
There's been massive increases of cancer.
Okay.
People been knocked off by, various other things, every illness, sickness, disease. The vaccines are having an effect. The guy Ty Bollinger's been doing a lot of work to try. See if I put my.
Oh, okay. I was hoping you were going to go conspiracy on me. Say maybe the reptilians were abducting large amounts, because it is widely known, Greg, that the reptilians enjoy a good human snack.
That's very likely part of this picture as well. If anybody goes research the thing called Missing 411, they'll find the guy Dave Politis that done a lot of work, and he's actually done quite a number of interviews you can pick up from Coast to Coast AM and other places that he talks about this Missing 411 dealing with all these national parks around the entire United States that's having trouble with all this you brought up.
Right. Yeah, I tried to get that guy on the show, man. He just, I don't know if they got a bad email or what, but he seems to have a really good case that the national parks must be the abduction epicenter for who's ever doing it, and we're assuming that they're the reptilians, because them's the nasty bastards always eating humans, frying them up, like a brisket, Soylent Green type thing. Then you got your reptilians battling your grays, and you can't really figure who's the good alien, who's the bad one. But I figure if you're eating humans, then those would be the bad ones.
It gets worse when they talk about a number of years back. They found all these human feet washing up ashore. You've seen those articles talking about human feet washing ashore. They always thought it was some mob thing, that somebody got their leg cut off and the mob dude throttled it out. There's too many occasions the feet were finding that they were genetically Dave Politis actually pointed out that a lot of the genetic stuff that he discovered in some of the research he did of the genetics that they had found of missing people connected to some of this feet that showed up on shore.
Now he's not the same guy that was talking about transgender Bigfoot, was he?
I don't recall, and it's a new one for me.
Well, they out there, man.
Okay.
And
I'll take your word for it.
Well, being a cowboy, we're out there in the woods a lot of times alone, and we can see them things come creeping by, and we don't have no use for them really. Greg, next time we have you on the program, what do we want to talk about?
Well, I've been working on. Well, let's see how much time we got left.
We're just running it. We're running toward the end right now, but I've got all kind of time for you to finish this thing up. Don't look at that clock.
All right. You were wanting to talk about some of the hard science of the quantum, physics stuff.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that as we end the show. Let's talk about that. What's going on with that?
there's a particular set of articles, and God help us if it would have actually showed up on the thing. I'll be able to talk about them here a little bit. But if they'd actually figure out why the hell we can't get them to come up. There was one from a few years ago, back in 2009, of something called the kilogram has a weight problem, and particularly a weight loss problem. You know, NTSB, National Standards and Technology, they do measure everything by, you know, increments that are finite, and they try to discover whether or not things are keeping the standards as they're supposed to be. Come to find out, the kilogram was losing amount of measure that amounted to about a grain of sugar. I mean, we're talking about this hard physical material matter that's losing some of its weight because of what exactly? You look at 2 years later, they had that Stanford University piece that I talked about on the last show that's in my quantum shift report, talking about mysterious emissions from the sun as mutating matter, causing things like, you know, different forms of radioactive material was decaying and doing it faster was the basic premise behind the movie 2012. If anybody wants to look into the movie 2012, see the first part of it, those two things directly connect, because they were pointing to the fact that some emission from the sun was causing the internal core of the Earth to heat up, and all the internal other portions in there to get hot and increase and cause, you know, 2012 is an, you know, exaggeration of what could have happened if this thing went out of control. If CERN's been put into place to help try to control that, maybe that's part of their plan. I haven't seen any proof and evidence of that either. But the very physical fact that the actual measurement of a kilogram was losing weight, you take it a couple of years past that, if I can find the one that was a little newer one, from January 6, 2013, reported in Live Science, the kilogram has gained weight.
What?
Yeah, it's wild fluctuations. And if you look at the same time frame between 2009 and 2013, there's a lot of reports that they found out about, you know, gamma ray bursts and galactic superwave. And there's a more recent article talking about gravity waves that prove Einstein to be correct. It's an article from CNN even, and for all the stuff that they tell, it's a lie. Sometimes they do tell the truth. Gravitational waves detected, and that's creating waves in science. And it actually proved Einstein correct that there's such thing as gravity waves. Well, the guy, Paul LaViolette, has been doing work on etheric.com for a number of years, dealing directly with this thing about gravity waves and something called the galactic superwave that we're being bombarded by. And it does coalesce very, very tightly with changes in physical matter and actually causing this Mandela effect to take place. Those are the things I can prove to my own satisfaction where this Mandela, this thing about the quantum shift has occurred and why it has occurred.
Wow. I'll tell you what, man, I think that's where we're gonna start our next program.
Okie doke.
Greg Coleson, I appreciate you coming on the Edge television broadcast, man. You can make yourself a note on that very topic right there. That's where we want to start our next broadcast with. How do you like that?
I'll remember. You just set a date. Around the first of the month is our best internet time for having the best speed for doing this, phone Skype thing. Because during the month, the rest of the way, it'd be mostly audio. That's the trouble we had last time. We just didn't have good connection speed, so it wore out. So if you hit us around the first of the month, you got it made.
Okay, and thank Francis for allowing you to be on the show for a couple hours with us.
Thanks, Francis, for letting us be on the show for a couple hours.
You're welcome.
Thank you, brother. I thank you very much.
Okay, Greg, we're going to let you go, man. Stay safe, and we'll have you back on the program.
Appreciate you all much, man.
All right, bye-bye.
Adios.
All right, everybody, that was Greg Coleson back with us on the Edge television broadcast. There you go. Everybody loves Brother Greg there. We're going to have him back on the program. So many topics to talk about here on the show. And this show will begin to replay in the main player directly after the program ends, which is just a few seconds after I log off here. And then we'll extract the high-definition video, put it up in our YouTube channel. We'll podcast it and put it into our TuneIn Radio playlist. TuneIn Radio plays 24 hours a day across any platform, any device. Thank you, everyone, for the great questions. Love you, everybody in the live chat and all the viewers and listeners to the program. Don't forget to put the website, this website, into your contacts list and spam everybody. Just mail it to them. Say, hey man, how about having some fun on Saturday night in a different kind of talk show? Yeah, we're not the regular kind of show, and never plan to be, never will be. Daniel Ott for the Edge. Bye bye.